Anthony Joshua might be done. I'm not talking about a loss in the ring. I'm talking about retirement. Real retirement. Two of his closest friends just died in a horrific car crash in Nigeria. AJ was in that car. He survived, but the injuries, the trauma, the mental scars? Industry insiders are saying he's seriously considering hanging up the gloves. Tyson Fury's already paid his respects. Eddie Hearn's dropped hints, and right now the entire boxing world is holding its breath, wondering if we just witnessed the end of Anthony Joshua's career without even realizing it. Let's get into this. December 29th, Anthony Joshua's in Nigeria, fresh off that Jake Paul fight in Miami. He's there connecting with his roots, chilling with his team. Then, out of nowhere, the Lexus SUV he's riding in smashes into a stationary truck on the Lagos to Ibadan expressway. This was catastrophic. 2 people died instantly. Sina Gami, AJ's strength and conditioning coach, Latif Ayodele, his personal trainer. These weren't just employees. These were his brothers. The guys who pushed him through every training camp, every brutal sparring session, every moment of doubt. Gone, just like that. Joshua gets rushed to hospital. Nigerian authorities say his injuries are minor, but sources close to the camp are whispering that the damage might be way worse. We're hearing potential rib injuries, knee damage, the kind of stuff that for a heavyweight boxer could be career-ending, because you need explosive power, you need mobility, you need to be able to take body shots. If those injuries are as bad as people are saying, that's a massive problem. But forget the physical stuff for a second. You're in a car with your friends, your coaches, and within seconds they're gone. And you're still here. That's survivor's guilt. That's trauma. That's the kind of thing that makes you question everything. And for someone like Anthony Joshua, who's already been open about his mental health struggles, this could be the breaking point. The driver got hit with 4 charges, including dangerous driving causing death and driving without a valid license. But honestly, none of that brings back Sina and Latif. None of that fixes what happened. Within 48 hours of this crash, the rumor mill goes absolutely crazy. And these aren't just random Twitter trolls. These are legitimate people within boxing, people with direct connections to AJ's camp, all saying the same thing. Anthony Joshua is seriously considering retirement. Now look, nothing's been officially confirmed yet. AJ hasn't put out a statement. Eddie Hearn hasn't announced anything. But the signs? They're everywhere. Duke McKenzie, 3-weight world champion, basically said it's only a matter of time. He said AJ's not a silly man. He understands his body, and over the next few months he expects Joshua to announce his official retirement. When Duke says something like that, people listen. And the way he said it wasn't like, maybe AJ retires. It was like, this is happening, we're just waiting for the announcement. Then you got Eddie Hearn, and this is where things get really interesting. Hearn's been with Joshua since day one. He knows Anthony better than almost anyone. And when Hearn starts talking about how it depends on his body, mentions niggles and injuries, then drops in that AJ's been dealing with mental health struggles, that's not casual conversation. That's Hearn preparing the public for bad news. Hearn said, "You never know the landscape of this, but more likely he's thought this is a good time to bow out." More likely. That's not definitive, but it's pretty damn close. And coming from Joshua's own promoter, the man who has everything to lose if AJ retires, that tells you this is real. Carl Froch questioned whether it might be a leverage play. Maybe AJ's trying to get one last massive payday. But even he admitted that given everything, the accident, the deaths, the trauma, genuine retirement makes complete sense. Spencer Oliver said Joshua's a serious talent, and he'll be missed when he's retired. Not if. When. That word choice matters. Let's talk about Anthony Joshua as a human being for a minute, because I think sometimes we forget these athletes aren't just content machines for our entertainment. Gareth A. Davies said something that really stuck with me. These guys were part of AJ's mental, psychological, and spiritual scaffolding. That scaffolding metaphor is perfect, because that's exactly what a team is. It's the structure that holds you up when everything else is falling apart. And 2 major beams just got ripped out of Anthony Joshua's scaffolding. Sina and Latif were with him every single day. They knew his body better than he did. They knew when he was struggling mentally. They were there for the highs, the world title wins, the sold-out stadiums. They were there for the lows, the Andy Ruiz loss, the Usyk defeats, the doubt, the criticism. That's not just a professional relationship, that's family. Johnny Nelson nailed it when he said this makes you realize how valuable life is and how things can change in a heartbeat. He talked about how in boxing we get caught up in the fights, the beefs, the drama, but none of that matters when it comes to real life. These 2 men were somebody's child, somebody's brother, the families who are devastated right now. That's the real tragedy here. Dominic Ingle put it even more bluntly. Boxing's just a sport. It's not more important than life. Who cares whether AJ carries on boxing when human lives have been lost? And he's right. Whether Anthony Joshua fights again is completely irrelevant compared to the fact that 2 people are dead. When tragedy strikes, all the manufactured beef evaporates. And we saw that in real time. Tyson Fury, the man who's been trading insults with Anthony Joshua for years, took to Instagram. "This is so sad. May God give them a good bed in heaven." Then he followed up saying, "There is no tomorrow. Live, love, and give." Fury's known for being theatrical, for saying outrageous stuff to sell fights. But this was genuine. No cameras, no promotion, no angle. Just one fighter acknowledging another fighter going through hell. Alexander Usyk, the man who beat Joshua twice, who took his belts, came out with his own statement. He called Cena and Latif incredible people and sent condolences to their families. Usyk's on top of the heavyweight division right now. He's got his own fights to worry about, but he took time to publicly support AJ because that's what you do. That's the code. Ryan Garcia expressed shock. John Fury said AJ's a lucky lad. Glad you're alive. God bless you. These reactions aren't just people being polite. This is the boxing community circling the wagons around one of their own. Because fighters understand that this sport can take everything from you, and sometimes it can take the people you love. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. The fight British boxing fans have been screaming for since 2017. And just last month, Eddie Hearn confirmed that plans were actually in place for it to finally happen in 2025. After years of false starts, it was actually going to happen. The biggest British boxing match of all time, legacy-defining for both men. And then December 29th happened. And now, the whole thing's in serious doubt. How do you come back from something like this and prepare for the biggest fight of your life? How do you train for Tyson Fury when you're dealing with physical injuries that might not fully heal? When you're dealing with the psychological trauma of losing your coaches, the people who would have been in your corner for that fight? Sources are saying there's growing fear that the damage could be far worse than initially reported. Rib injuries that could linger for months, knee problems that could affect AJ's footwork. And for a fighter whose style relies on explosive power, compromised knees could be a death sentence against someone like Fury. Eddie Hearn hasn't come out and said the fight's off. He's being diplomatic. But reading between the lines, it doesn't look good. And you can't blame Joshua if he decides the Fury fight isn't worth it anymore. Because what's the point? Another payday? When you've just been reminded in the most brutal way possible that life is fragile, does any of that really matter? So here we are, beginning of January 2025. Anthony Joshua's in recovery. The boxing world's waiting for some kind of statement. And honestly, nobody knows. Not Eddie Hearn, not Duke McKenzie, not even AJ himself probably knows right now. What we do know is that Joshua's mother flew to Nigeria to be by his side. He's getting medical attention. He's surrounded by family, and hopefully he's getting the mental health support he needs. Here's what I think happens. Joshua takes the next few months to heal, to grieve, to figure out what he wants. And sometime around March or April, we get an announcement one way or the other. Either he says he's ready to fight again, he's worked through the trauma, and he wants to honor Cena and Latif by continuing. Or, and I think this is more likely, he announces his retirement. And if he does walk away, nobody should criticize that decision. Nobody should call him soft. Because walking away after what he's been through isn't weakness. It's actually the strongest thing you can do. It's recognizing that there are things more important than boxing. Things like your mental health, your well-being, your ability to live without being haunted by trauma. Duke McKenzie said AJ's not a silly man, and he's right. If Joshua looks at this situation and decides that continuing isn't what's best for him, that's a mature decision that should be respected. Spencer Oliver said Joshua will be missed when he retires, and that's the truth. If this is the end, then we should celebrate what he accomplished, rather than mourn what could have been. Olympic gold, multiple-time heavyweight world champion, a career that inspired thousands. That's a legacy to be proud of. You know what really gets me? This situation forces perspective on all of us. We spend so much time as boxing fans getting caught up in drama. Who's ducking who? Who's the real champion? Beefs and rivalries. We obsess over fights that haven't happened yet. We argue online about hypothetical matchups. And then something like this happens, and it all gets put into perspective real quick. Because suddenly none of the drama matters. The Fury fight doesn't matter. The titles don't matter. What matters is that 2 people are dead. What matters is that Anthony Joshua has to deal with unimaginable pain. What matters is that life is fragile. Johnny Nelson said it perfectly. When you talk about fights and beefs, it's nothing when it comes to real life and losing your life. Cena Gami and Latif Ayodele are gone. They don't get to see what happens next. That's the reality. And for Anthony Joshua, this is his reality check. After years at the top, he's been reminded that none of it means anything if you're not here to enjoy it. All the money in the world can't bring back Cena and Latif. At some point, you have to ask yourself what you're doing this for and whether it's worth it. I don't know if Anthony Joshua retires. I don't know if he fights Tyson Fury. But whatever he decides, he deserves our support and our respect. Because this man has given us incredible moments. He's represented the sport with dignity. He's been through hell and back. And if he decides that his health and peace of mind are more important than another fight, then we should honor that. The boxing world is holding its breath. Retirement rumors are swirling. Industry insiders think it's inevitable. The biggest fight in British boxing might never happen. And two men who dedicated their lives to the sport are gone. It's heavy. It's real. And it reminds all of us that boxing is just a sport. Life is what matters. Drop a comment with your thoughts. Do you think AJ retires? Hit that like button, subscribe for updates on this story, and most importantly, keep Cena Gami and Latif Ayodele's families in your thoughts. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.